In our previous videos, we reviewed two Soviet-era radiation detectors, one pristine but completely dead, and one that still worked decades after it was made, but with a malfunctioning internal ionization chamber. Thanks to Better Geiger, today we're taking a closer look at their S2L radiation meter, examining what it's capable of measuring and explaining how body dose rate should be properly measured. Throughout the video, I'll make brief comparisons to Czechoslovak legacy detectors I've used in the past to give you a better sense of what the S2L is designed for and what its limitations are. As always, this is not a sponsored video. The device was provided by Better Geiger for an independent review. Thank you, Better Geiger, we appreciate it. The device came in a plastic waterproof storage case. Keep in mind, this is an optional accessory for additional $30. It includes a carabiner for attaching to a belt or a backpack. The device sits securely inside even if you give it a proper shake, so the case does a solid job protecting it from abrasions and impact. Definitely worth getting. What's quite funny is that Better Geiger detectors use scintillator sensors rather than Geiger-Miller tubes, so technically they're not Geigers. But are they better? Let's find out. Inside the case, there's a radiation risk cheat sheet. The table shows you total accumulated dose based on dose rate and exposure time. The color coding is intuitive and genuinely useful. Gray is negligible, green is comparable to a chest X-ray or CT scan, yellow means that lifetime cancer risk increases by up to 5%, orange means up to 50% chance of death from radiation sickness, and red represents extremely high exposure levels that are close to 100% fatal. There's also a sticker and a user manual covering both the S2 and S2L models. We don't have the S2 here for a direct comparison, but in essence, the S2L has a larger sensor, which in practice means more sensitive and faster readings at the cost of a lower maximum range. The S2L has a maximum measurable dose rate of 10,000 microsieverts per hour, which may not be significant for short-time exposure, but is definitely harmful to your health if you remain exposed for days or, God forbid, weeks. In contrast, legacy instruments such as IT65 were designed for extreme environments and could measure up to 500 regens per hour, equivalent to roughly 5 million microsieverts per hour. That's a lethal dose in case you were wondering. However, this difference reflects design intent rather than a limitation. The S2L prioritizes sensitivity and usability in lower dose environments, whereas instruments like the IT65 were built to remain functional under very high radiation levels, such as those encountered in nuclear incidents. Better Geiger also offers a Faraday cage bag as a separate accessory. Now, there is no detailed description on their website, but based on how Faraday cages generally work, my guess is it's designed to shield the detector from electromagnetic pulses or EMPs. An EMP event, whether from a nuclear detonation or a solar storm, can permanently damage unshielded electronics, so that would make sense. The bag can also be used for other electronic devices.
The number you have dialed is temporarily unavailable. Please try again later.
It actually works! I'm finally off the grid. Now I can just sit back and relax.
Have you seen the latest YouTube comment?
What comment? What? By default, the S2L comes with a rubber cover that has belt loops on the back, but let's take it off first so we can insert the batteries. The detector runs on two AA batteries, and I really appreciate this design choice. Built-in batteries in any electronic device are kind of a deal breaker for me. Being able to remove or replace them whenever needed matters, especially in a preparedness context. When putting the detector back into the rubber cover, make sure the sensor is facing out like this. It's easy to insert it upside down and accidentally cover the sensor with the bottom padding. A fully equipped S2L weighs 235 grams, making it considerably lighter than the much bulkier IT65, which weighs around 3 kilograms. Now let's power it up by pressing the power button. It boots up in roughly 5 seconds, and as you can hear, it starts picking up ambient radiation right away. It is truly sensitive. In case you didn't know, radiation is all around us, so don't be alarmed by the ever-present clicking. You can mute it by pressing the sound button and turn it back on whenever you see fit. We'll keep it muted for now. You can select the preferred units on the S2L using the up arrow button. The default is microsieverts per hour, but you can also switch to millirem per hour, counts per minute, or counts per second. On top of that, it offers 3 additional display modes. The Since Power On mode shows how long the detector has been running, along with the cumulative dose accumulated since it was last turned on, providing a clear summary of a recent usage. The All-Time Dose mode displays the accumulated dose in 4 units, with the key difference that these values are retained even after the device is powered off. Both Since Power On and All-Time Dose values can be manually reset by pressing the right arrow and confirming with the left arrow. Finally, there is a low power mode, which reduces the display to a small flashing circle. According to Better Geiger, this approximately doubles battery life from 50 hours to around 95, a useful feature if you're running the device over extended periods of time. For the purpose of this video, I'll use the S2L set to display microsieverts per hour, since that's the unit I'm most familiar with. There's a battery indicator in the top left display corner, which currently reads OK. If the batteries start to run low, it will display low instead. You can also set a rate alarm, which causes the detector to beep whenever the measured value exceeds a specific threshold. It can be turned off in the settings by pressing the down arrow button, but I prefer to keep it on. Now, unlike most Geiger counters, Better Geiger detectors are not designed to detect alpha and beta radiation. Why, you may ask? Because in terms of health risk, alpha and beta radiation are generally less significant than penetrating gamma. Alpha particles cannot penetrate a sheet of paper, let alone human skin. Beta particles can cause skin damage with sufficient exposure, but they can be completely stopped by a sheet of aluminum. Gamma rays, however, can penetrate the skin and muscles, reaching internal organs. Yikes! Here's my Czechoslovak DC3A72 Geiger counter that detects both beta and gamma. It is an extremely simple device. It only detects while one of the buttons are pressed and held. It doesn't track cumulative dose or provide sound alerts, but I keep it as a backup detector. This is a strontium-90 Czech source, which emits beta particles. Let's see what the DC detector has to say. It measures approximately 19 millirengens per hour, or about 190 microsieverts per hour. That reading is correct. Now, when we perform the same measurement with the S2L, the result isn't even close. In fact, it barely registers any activity at all. Essentially, Better Geiger detectors filter out less relevant alpha and beta particles to provide more accurate readings of dangerous gamma radiation. Here's another useful tip. Always remove the batteries from your detector when you're done using it. Trust me, the last thing you want is battery leakage damaging the device after it's been sitting in a storage for a long time. I won't take them out of the S2L just yet, however, as we're not quite finished. How you perform a measurement in the field matters a lot, so I dressed up to emphasize its importance. Certainly not because I want to show off my tactical CBRN gear. Nope! Let's say you come across a random piece of uraninite, just like I did, no idea how it got here, I'm just that lucky. Definitely didn't put it there 5 minutes ago. When you place the sensor close to the source, the readings go up, and for most people this can look scary. But if I take a step back, you can immediately see the activity drop to near zero. The distance between you and the source is crucial. While detecting, it's important to keep the detector close to your chest, where your organs are, since they're particularly susceptible to ionizing radiation. This way, the detector can provide a more meaningful estimate of the accumulated dose. Carrying the device on your belt is also an option, however, you still want to stay as far away from any gamma radiation source as possible. To wrap things up, I really like what the S2L has to offer. It's lightweight, very user and beginner friendly, and using it doesn't require much knowledge of how radiation works. The cheat sheet helps a lot. I also appreciate that it doesn't include wireless module or Bluetooth, as I don't need every device connected to my phone. That's just my personal preference. All in all, this is a solid and well thought out gamma detector. The sensor is very sensitive, the readings are fast, and at a price of $200, it is a very good deal. Yes, there are much cheaper options out there, but as we've explained, not all detectors are the same. Hopefully we'll be able to make more practical comparisons with other detectors in the future to show you what the differences are. The only thing I don't particularly like about the S2L is that, in my opinion, its maximum measurable dose rate of 10,000 microsieverts per hour is quite low. I understand why it was designed this way, but I hope future Better Geiger models will offer a much higher measurable limit, even exceeding the S2's 100,000 microsieverts per hour. That's it, folks. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below, and I'll see you next time in CBRN Academy.